Hello, good evening, and welcome, parents. Happy September. It's wonderful to be here. Thank you for joining me tonight. I'm really excited for tonight's presentation. Grab a cup of tea, glass of water, and settle in because I'll be chatting with us all tonight for about an hour. I'm just going to let everyone get settled and join. Hello, Alex and Dario. Hi. Nice to meet you. See some familiar names as well as some new names. Hi, Jeff. Hi, June. Hi, Jeff. Yep, hi. And hello, Louis, Maria. Thank you all for being here tonight. I'm going to be chatting with us all about public and private high schools here in New York City. I do know that it's a busy time of year, a lot of curriculum nights and stuff happening. So if you're dividing and conquering, with your partner, I really appreciate it. Thank you for being here. And I think we can kick it off. So many of you might know my team and I from our SAT programming for high schoolers, but before students join us for college readiness, we do help them prepare for high school, which is just what we'll be talking about tonight. In case you don't know me, my name is Jeff, and I am one of the directors here at the Tutorverse. Believe it or not, it is my 10th year here. So I've been doing this for quite a while, and I've seen the SHSAT change twice already. You are in good hands tonight. I do know a thing or two about the SHSAT as well as the high school admissions process overall. I do know that most of us here tonight are parents of 7th graders, which is fantastic, big year. Even though your child just started middle school a year ago, believe it or not, you'll be applying to high school before you even know it, about a year from now, right at the beginning of 8th grade. So that makes 7th grade super important in many ways, and you're taking a great first step by being here or watching the video to learn about the processes, the tests, and the options that are available to you. If your child is in 8th grade and you didn't join us last year, welcome. If you did join us last year, this will be a nice refresher for you. A few things have changed about the SHSAT, and I do hope that your child has already started studying for the upcoming entrance exams as well. If you did join us last year, we are going to go over most of the general process tonight instead of, specifically where to click, what schools to choose, that sort of thing. So again, a lot of details about this year's admission cycle will be released by the DOE on October 7. Finally, if your child is in 6th grade, you can kick back and relax. You've got about another year before you really need to start, paying super close attention. But you are going to get a sneak peek of what to expect next year. We do have a great presentation for you over the next 45 minutes or so, and we are excited to speak with you tonight. So some of your questions are going to be answered throughout the presentation tonight, and others will be addressed during the Q&A, which will be at the end of the session. If I don't get a chance to address all of the questions from tonight, don't worry. I will send an email reaching out to everyone afterwards. And I also plan to host a follow-up Q&A on September 24 to answer any additional questions we might not get to. And that link will be at the very end of the presentation. All right, cool. I still see some of us joining. Perfect timing. Here is a quick overview of what we are going to cover tonight. So first, we're going to chat about the public school system for high school, including some of the best high schools in the country, the New York City specialized high schools, and how we're going to prepare for that admissions test, the specialized high schools admissions test, or SHSAT. We are going to switch gears after that to a brief discussion on, independent schools, private schools, which has its own placement test called the ISEE, or Independent School Entrance Exam. They are mutually exclusive. You cannot take one for the other and the other for the one. So if you are thinking about both, public schools and independent schools, you will need to, take one or more of those tests. And then I'll wrap up with some key takeaways before we get into Q&A. All right. Towards the end of the presentation, I will share a special discount code for attendees of tonight's live webinar. So do stick around until then. I would appreciate it. All right, awesome. So let's start with like a really big zoom out and look, big picture at the high school landscape here in the city. So I like to think about it as sort of like having two broad options, right? Public schools and independent non-public schools. All right, that'd be like here and here. On the right-hand side, we do have the independent schools. We'll talk more about that a little later. For now, I do want to take a look at the public schools first on the left-hand side. We can think of those as sort of two buckets, specialized schools and non-specialized schools. There's also charter schools, but that's not really the focus of what we're going to be talking about tonight. I will come back to the specialized high schools in just a minute, but first, a very quick look at the general public school admissions process and what some of the non-specialized high schools are. So overall, we do have what's called general education schools, right? So these are all the public high schools with the exception of the 9 specialized schools. So when it comes to getting into some of these general education schools, there are 3 ways that students are considered for admission. You've got the screened option, the educational option, and open admissions, all right? So unlike the specialized high schools that only use the SHSAT exam, these gen ed schools are, the admissions methodology is very, very much impacted by your child's lottery number from one extent to another. That's the number that's assigned to you when you begin the high school admissions process. All right. So we can break this down a little bit further. So the screened programs, this just simply means that a school is going to look at something specific in your child's application. Could be grades, could be, portfolio, an audition. But it is important to understand that even with screening, there is still an element of luck as it relates to your lottery number. All right. So even if you've got really strong qualifications, you're a straight A student, that kind of thing, your lottery number is still going to, affect your chances. There's a few different kinds of screened programs. Some schools are academically screened. So they'll look at, the child's 7th grade, final grades in the 4 core subjects, English, math, social studies, science. State test scores might be coming back as part of this review process. There's some percolatings about that. Other programs are screened by portfolio or supplemental materials, right? So this might be an essay, an interview, or even like school-specific assessments. So some schools have their own special requirements. So these are considered alongside, other academic metrics, or sometimes on their own. Then, of course, we have the audition-based screen programs, right? These are programs that admit students just based on an audition, usually like a performing or visual art. LaGuardia, if you've heard of it, is a well-known art school, but it is a specialized high school. So even though it's audition-based, it's not going to be considered a general education school, right? Then, of course, we have education option. This one's a little unique. These schools are designed to admit a mix of students across a range of academic levels. So the goal is to create a balanced classroom with students who perform, a wide range of levels based on 7th grade scores, all right? So this is sort of like a blend between screening and a lottery. Finally, there's open admissions. This one's the easiest to understand. This is pure lottery, basically. There is no screening, there is no assessment. You just go. All right. So in terms of timing and applications and when to think about what, 7th grade is really when it all begins, right? And we should begin by researching. Now is a great time for family conversations about what your family is looking for, what your child is interested in, what matters most to you in a school and a community. As you start exploring, a few things to keep in mind. Do be realistic. New York has many, many great high schools, but the most competitive ones receive a lot of applications. So we really encourage you to think about like casting a very wide net, including a mix of schools, especially ones that have, fewer applicants per seat, for instance. This can take a lot of like sifting through DOE data to figure out. We do have a few partners who we can, refer you to, but this is certainly something that's important, building a list of schools. Um, be strategic. So, look carefully at how many seats are actually available. Some only have a handful, some have many more. Some schools prioritize certain groups. For instance, students with learning differences or students from underrepresented backgrounds or who live in a specific borough. Some schools are 6 to 12 schools, meaning they'll give priority to students who've already attended the middle school. So, keeping all of that in mind is important, can be, pretty challenging. But also, just remember that, there's also the lottery at play. The lottery number can make a big difference in admissions outcomes, especially at the really competitive schools. So the first two characters of the number, a mix of letters and numbers, are usually the most important ones to keep an eye out for. There's a whole like separate discussion we could have about that. I don't want to go down the rabbit hole about like the lottery number and at what point your chances are not very good. But if you do have questions about that, you can reach out to us by email and we'll be happy to chat with you. So good grades are important, but they're not enough, right? Process has become a little bit more randomized and less predictable in recent years. Excuse me. Then in the late fall or winter of 8th grade, you'll actually submit your application for general education school. You can list up to 12 schools on your child's application through My Schools, the city's online admissions portal, if you haven't been in it. It is important that you list your schools in true preference, right? Meaning if your number one choice is the school that you want most, they should go number one. Don't try and like game the system by like, ooh, if I put this here because fewer people attend, I might have a better chance. All of that is because if you do happen to get in, they're going to go down the list in order, which actually is the same thing that they do for the SHSAT, but based on scores. So anyway, do list your schools in true preference of order. And, if you are preparing to apply to an audition or portfolio-based program, you will also submit your supplemental materials at that time. All right. So then in the spring of 8th grade, you do receive your high school offer or hopefully offers. That'll be right around March. They've been pretty consistent with that over the years. And you'll note that if you are considering independent schools, that this is after your independent school deposits are due. So they do, the private schools do know when the DOE, gives results, and generally you do need to submit your tuition deposits before you find out about the DOE outcomes. I know. Generally, I guess big picture, if you do get that option to go to a great public school at that time, tough choice to make, but at least you have a choice. And you might be, happy with having that option. Okay, so again, in the spring of 8th grade, you will get your offers. So every student is going to get one offer to a general education school from the list that you submitted, right? If your child doesn't get into any of the 12 listed schools, you'll be assigned to a school. So it could be, out somewhere that is not close to where you live, right? Your child may also be waitlisted at any schools that were ranked higher than the one that they were placed into. So there is still a chance for movement. You might get an offer to up to 6 LaGuardia programs, which is pretty interesting. So that's part of the strategy if you are at all interested in performing arts. Which, by the way, is a specialized high school, doesn't use the SHSAT, is a very, very specific kind of school. And finally, if your child did take the SHSAT, they could also receive one offer to a specialized high school, right? So that's sort of what your offer letter will look like in the March of eighth grade, okay? Up to like sort of these three buckets, all right? Obviously, if you've sort of been following along, you know that you don't have a ton of control when it comes to the general education schools. And that sort of is why, the SHSAT and the specialized high schools are such a great option for families because this is really one of the only ways to, take matters into your own hands, as it were, and get an offer to a really great high school that, is well funded and reputable and, will surround your student with other sort of, like-minded students who focus on and care about academics. All right. So the SHSAT does stand for the Specialized High Schools Admissions Test. Okay. It is now a digital test administered each year by the Department of Education. All right. Starting with the 2026 test. So if you have a seventh grader, that is the test your child will take. The test will also be computer adaptive. I know. Graduate level testing. I don't think it was necessary, but whatever. The DOE, did sign a 5-year contract with Pearson, the publisher, to make this happen. So this will be the first year that it rolls out in a digital format. The SHSAT is the only criteria, right, used for admission to the 8 schools that you see here on the screen. Okay, Bronx Science, Brooklyn Tech, Stuyvesant. These are the original 3 specialized high schools that were established actually by state law, which makes it relatively insulated from, New York City politics. So these do happen to be the largest schools. They do accept the most students each year. Bronx Science is a fantastic school. Our founder, Marcus, actually went to Bronx Science. And I think it offers about 30 AP classes right now and more than 70 clubs. They do have a pretty selective, pool with an offer rate of only about 3% when you do the math. Brooklyn Tech, about 1,500 offers every year. It is the largest high school in the country, but I do believe they build a very, strong sense of community. They've got, 120 clubs, and they offer a number of different, resources for students to build a community, including like a major option, right? You get to pick a concentration like they'll do in college. Stuyvesant, right here in Manhattan, of course, it is convenient, but that's not necessarily the reason why we should choose to apply, and list Stuyvesant as our first choice. It is well known for its rigor, and it does have high expectations, both of its students and its staff. I do remember one of my favorite stories to tell about this is actually the first day of class, or maybe the first week of class, a student was telling me after the fact that they got homework. Half the class got a 0 because they didn't follow the teacher's instructions to the letter. The other half, they got whatever grade they got. Parents and students were not happy with it, and took it up with the teacher and the principal, but the administration backed the teacher. And everyone learned a valuable lesson about following instructions, right? So that's just a little anecdote that that really stands out in my mind about what it's like, at Stuyvesant. So parents do often ask which school is the best school. The best school, is the one where your child is going to thrive, right? We do ask families to think about the 3 C's. Curriculum. So, what's your student interested in? If you're not interested in learning Latin, then don't apply to Brooklyn Latin. Community, like a big school, little school, what kind of environment will you thrive in? And commute. Getting to and from school each day for 4 years, that's a long time. And teenagers perpetually sleep deprived, like, how will that, impact your family as a whole? So those sort of three C's I like to, take parents through when we're talking on the phone: curriculum, community, commute. So again, the right school is, where your student is going to be, comfortable but challenged, where they'll be most successful. So no matter which of these specialized high schools you attend, you're going to have a really great education. You'll have a lot of resources at your disposal. You'll have a faculty that really cares about what they're doing and, why they're doing it, who they're doing it with, and who they're doing it for. So these are great, great schools. And not many people transfer out, right, once they're in. So how do you get there? Well, it does start with the SHSAT, which we will take in the fall of 8th grade. There is an option to take the test again as a 9th grader, but as I mentioned, there are far fewer seats available, and those will depend on like transfers and withdrawals. The test has historically been given in late October at centralized locations. That was pre-COVID. The test date is now a little bit later. So 2025 SHSAT is going to be held on November 12th for most public school students. The 2026 date, we won't know for some time, but we are expecting it to be right around this time of year, late October or early to mid-November. We don't expect the test date to be announced until at least June. In fact, the DOE didn't confirm this year's 2025 test date until right before Labor Day. So, if you are a planner like I am, we just got to live with what the DOE gives us. So let's take a look at what the SHSAT will look like in the coming years, especially for families preparing for this year's test and the 2026 exam. So I do actually see a question from Ileana about this, so I'm going to get to it right now. So beginning with the fall 2025 SHSAT this year, November 12th, the test is going to move from paper to computer-based, okay? And this is going to happen over 2 years, right? So phase 1 is 2025, phase 2 is 2026. So 2025 is 8th graders, 2026 will be current 7th graders taking it next year, right? So some of these changes are small and some of them are bigger. So students still have 3 hours to complete 114 questions. Most of the test is still multiple choice. However, they've replaced the open-ended grid-ins of yesteryear with newly introduced technology-enhanced items, very fancy, known as TEIs, okay? TEIs. So they're debuting this year in phase 1. They're more interactive. They're like drag and drops, fill in the blanks, sorting things by column. Very interactive, very interesting, not sure if it really changes the measure of understanding, but, that's what Pearson sold the DOE, so that's where we are. The test is still split in half between ELA, English Language Arts, and math. This year, 2025, we will have some changes in the order in which students will take their test questions. So the ELA is still going to be shown first. We don't have to take it first, but it is shown first, and it is still split into 2 categories. So the first and largest group of questions will be reading comp related. The rest of the ELA section will be revising and editing. So reading passages, typical of what you might see in school, passages will be a little longer, a little harder than, let's say, what's on the state exams. They will include nonfiction texts, older literary works, even poetry. All right, remember, SHSAT is an entrance exam. So it's not just meant to like measure, do you sort of get, what we've been teaching? No, it's looking to see like, do you master this concept, right? So it's more than just understanding, it's mastery. Revising and editing questions based on skills that you don't really learn in school anymore. Subject verb agreement, prepositional phrases and where modifiers go, that sort of thing. So even though it makes up a fairly small part of the test, it is a nice area where you can pick up additional points that other people might not get. And that is, of course, how this test is scored on a relative basis. 57 math questions focus on core topics that should be covered by seventh grade, next gen, Common Core, whatever you want to call it. Standards, I like to say. So this covers plenty of pre-algebra concepts, numbers, and operational fluency. A note that students cannot use a calculator, even though the test is on a computer. So this is a challenge for many students. A lot of students are like, hooked on the calculators. They use it in daily schooling. Might slow down your arithmetic. And it is a time test, so it's just something to be aware of. I will point out also that the test does only contain seventh grade, standard aligned math. There's no trig, there's no algebra 2. I've seen some wild things, in workbooks and stuff that kids bring to our classes, to our teachers, and say, like, I don't know how to do this. And we're like, yeah, it's for like 10th graders. Where did you get this? So, just know that that's the case. All right. A side note that you might see that actually on our private school admissions for the ISEE, but I'll talk about that separately. So, as you can imagine, the test was pretty challenging even before COVID, even before it changed the new digital format. Students who get straight A's still find the test challenging, right? They do still find our program to be challenging. A lot of parents reach out to us. I think like one of the most asked questions is, I don't understand. My child is getting all A's in school. She has a 98 average. He's on the honor roll. Like, why is this so hard? There are a lot of answers to that. I think that it's a mix of things, like most things. It's the fact that, there's some kids, are still catching up from, delays in learning due to COVID. Some, schools are like still challenged and aren't able to like go above and beyond, like the SHSAT will require. So, they can sort of hit, the bullet points, but maybe not some of the nuance and details that might make mastery happen. Anyway, this is just to say that, the test is going to be difficult. The program that we run is going to be difficult, but it should be, enriching, right? And we will manage, difficulty and, emotions as we go through it. Okay, so just to recap, phase 1 rolls out 2025. Basically a very similar test, except that it's now on the computer and we have these new TEI questions. And I will show you some examples of that later. Then from phase 1, we go to phase 2 next year, 2026 SHSAT, right? So that's for current 7th graders who will take phase 2 next year, right? At that point, it will be computer adaptive. Meaning that the test will adapt in real time to a student's responses. If you've taken certain graduate level exams before, you'll know that depending on how you perform on a single question, the next set of question or questions may be different, okay? And that in turn can affect the potential score that you receive. We will still expect to experience 114 questions, 3 hours. That hasn't really changed. There might be some new TEIs added. Next year's adaptive test will mean that navigation will be totally different. Right now, 2025, we can take the test in any order that we want. We could take it backwards to forwards. It doesn't matter. We can jump around. Next year, we can't do that because once you answer a question in math or a standalone ELA question, you can't go back and make corrections. So now we have to be like super sure that we got it right before we move on. ELA questions based on passages, will be sort of section based. So you can like hop around within that question set. But once you've clicked done and you move on to the next thing, you can't go back. We don't have any more info beyond this. This is everything the DOE has told us so far, but we will continue to monitor for any new updates from the DOE. Okay. And that is something that we do really, really closely here. So I'm just going to humble brag real quick and let you know how we handled the phase one rollout. So DOE announced this December 2024 between Christmas and New Year. I was on vacation when the news hit, and that sort of threw everything into a tizzy. But we started transitioning like immediately. So our leadership team knew this was coming. We had already begun earlier investments into our platform. There are other digital tests, SAT, ISEE, for example. We notified all our enrolled families within a month. We began updating our digital platform to reflect the announced changes. We adapted our proprietary tests and our digital administration of those tests to align with the new test format. And by the time the kids took their first scheduled practice test, it was digital. And we kept investing into it. And so by June, the second digital test, we had made a bunch of improvements and refinements. And now our platform operates, I would say, a little bit better than the DOE's. In a few days, this Saturday, over 200 kids are going to be taking our practice tests. And they're going to have an experience that's like really, really buttoned up and very close to what the DOE, what they can expect on test day. And you may have seen that we just launched our digital question sets. So this is a new supplement to all of our other content. So I'm really just mentioning this to let you know that this is a big, big, big part of what we do. It is what we are known for. We lead it's safe to say that we lead the, industry for this particular test. And we are already, provisioning resources for some of our colleagues in the DOE and in the private practice to help their kids prepare for the test as well. So as more details become available, we will be sure to let you know as long as you're on our mailing list or, join us for our class. So what can we do to be ready for the SHSAT? Well, hopefully one of your takeaways was that, you should make the most of seventh grade. We are not school. We get 1 week, 1 day a week with kids, 2.5 hours a week. So we can't do the job of school, right? So school is like one of the most important things that we need to take seriously if we want to get ready for the SHSAT. So ask those questions, participate in class, study for your tests, that sort of thing. Do get familiar with the format of the test. I know a lot of us that take the state exams now do that digitally as well. That is a little bit of practice, but I believe this platform is a little different from the state exam. Just something to remember that you want to, practice digitally, like have digital testing experience. It's really different now. Like reading a passage on a screen, even with a digital highlighter, that's really different from like marking up with your pencil, and your highlighter and taking notes on a piece of paper. So it just takes a little practice to get used to, especially again, because it is a timed test, right? You don't want to waste that time figuring out, how things work. All right. Any standardized exam, by the way, is like a pretty, unique experience. You don't do them very often. They're often high stakes. They require a certain kind of stamina and skill set. So, practice does make perfect, we think. I've taken a few of those exams myself, and I can tell you that the more you know your, enemy, as it were, the more, prepared you will be when, test day comes. There's a lot of stuff out there, some of it not so good, some of it okay. Not much of it digital right now. So if you're, sort of feeling stressed out about it or worried, you're not sure what to do, that's why we're here. This is what we do. We do offer an enrichment class. We do offer digital, options, resources, sorry. And what I want to do is talk to you about some of those resources. So our SHSAT program, the prep program, is very popular. We offer a number of different formats. Tonight, I'm going to focus on the 35 session 4 semester program. So the overall goal of this program is to build students up over time, provide a positive learning experience, and avoid burnout, right? So this is not a after school meat grinder where we go through, drills all day, every day. That is not what this is. This is prepping for a marathon. We are going to start off slow with the basics. So the first semester does occur in the winter of 7th grade. It's what we call foundations. It's not test prep. We're not going to look at a test in its final form. We're going to take little mini quizzes. We're going to take our time getting caught up with the 7th grade standards as it's needed for the SHSAT, right? So this is more about academic enrichment and not like test prep per se. We'll be covering content that'll be useful for those state exams in the spring. And we will focus on developing those standards, building upon what should have been mastered in grades 5 and grade 6. So, if your student is still, working on some of those skills, and you might need a little extra support outside of the program. We won't be giving any full-length SHSATs yet. There will be plenty of time for that, but we will give some cumulative assessments to complete so we can monitor progress. Second semester takes place in the spring of 7th grade. That's called applications. So in this semester, we'll start moving pretty quickly. We'll be taking all that, content from foundations and from the school day and applying it to test style problems. So we start the test prep process. We start talking strategy. We start looking at the real test. We start looking at our practice tests. We will sit for 2 full-length digital tests. And then over that semester, we'll see how much growth we've had because the first test is early, second test is towards the end. So if you're thinking about, should I join in foundations or applications, I would probably recommend that you start with foundations just because we've noticed that a lot of kids that skip foundations have a tough time with applications. It does move very quickly. Over the summer, we will keep students practicing. We will take a break from live instruction, but we have a lot of structured homework and 4 digital tests that we can take over the summer. So if you're traveling, or you're not traveling, you'll have work to keep you occupied, keep you fresh, right? There are some live supplemental add-ons available. But those are a separate enrollment. They are not part of this particular program. Then we come back to the fall of 8th grade. So like this time next year. The final semester is called reinforcement. By now, we would have taught all of the topics and strategies that we want to implement. And now is when we start to reinforce. So the semester has at least 6 classes and 3 full-length digital tests. It goes by very quickly, especially if you've got bar mitzvahs, bat mitzvahs, that sort of thing. So it goes by really, really quickly. If the test date is delayed beyond the end of the course, we will provide what we call complementary bridge programming on Zoom. So it's going to keep students fresh until whatever the primary in-school test date is. So for example, this year, reinforcement semester for 8th graders ends the last week of October. Test is not until November 12th. So we provide 2 complimentary weeks of online bridge programming to everyone who's enrolled in our program. So all the classes are 2.5 hours long. All the digital tests are full 3 hours long. if you get extended time, you will be able to take your test with time and a half or double time. We, in our proctored practice test sessions, will be able to accommodate up to time and a half. Double time is always available, but is unproctored. Program is offered in a few different formats and locations. So here, in the upper right corner here are those options. So first, you can do like what we call an in-person and in-person class. In-person classes, in-person practice test proctoring. The second option is in-person classes and online proctored tests. The third is an online class and online proctored tests. So just to clarify, everyone taking the program will take that digital practice test, and the difference is really just in how you will be proctored. So if you go away on weekends and you can't make the practice test, or if you just have like a conflict, you can always take the test independently, or join us for online proctoring, right? In-person proctoring will be done at one of our testing sites. You do need to bring a laptop and a laptop charger. Online proctoring is done via Zoom. The proctor is going to give instructions and reminders. Students can join from anywhere as long as they have access to internet, a stable internet connection, right? If you're not sure which format is best for you, do feel free to email and let us know, and schedule some time to speak. Would love to chat about what might work best for your family. I know there's a lot of info, a lot of very specific dates and stuff. If you have questions about it, it can all be viewed on our enrollment page, which is listed right here. To tutorverse.com/SHSAT26. So just a really quick overview, what to expect from the program. We do have a high bar for our instructors. All the teachers have to have at least a 4-year college degree and 5 years of post-collegiate teaching experience. Every classroom will have a teaching assistant, so that's 2 instructors. And students will be working with our proprietary content. It's a carefully designed syllabus. Every semester has a learning objective. Every unit within it has its own learning objective. The main goal, again, is to unlock a student's full potential come test day. Super important thing that I want to point out is that you do need to do homework. I know. The kids are already busy in school, I know, but coming to class is just not going to be enough. We do need to practice on our own. We need to look at what we got wrong and understand why we got it wrong. We need to take our digital practice tests. So this is where we need a little partnership from the parents to help make sure that things get done. So the most successful students are the ones who have involved parents to just help make sure that the independent work is done as instructed. So the students will key in their work into the class portal that they'll have access to. The digital tests need to be scheduled around and taken, whether it's proctored or not proctored, still digital. Getting all of these things into your portal is super important because it's sort of like voting. So our instructors will review the results from homework and practice tests and pick the most important questions for that particular class to review. So what I always tell the kids is that if you don't submit your homework, if you don't take your test, the teacher is like not reviewing what you need, based on your vote. So do vote. If everyone gets question 1 right, we're not going to waste time on question 1. But if everyone, gets question 10 wrong, we definitely want to spend time on question 10. So, that's just sort of the way in which, the program will operate. There's a question right here about when you need your laptop. You just need your laptop for the practice tests. You do not need it for class. All right, so you do need to bring your own laptop to a practice test, or else use your computer at home and do your digital test remotely. So I spoke a bit about the curriculum, the homework, the classwork. What you see here are the covers of the books that you'll receive as part of your enrollment. The red, yellow, and green books, those are the course books for each semester. There'll be the interactive notebooks where we're taking notes, following teacher modeling, practicing independently during class time. We do follow the I do, we do, you do model to make sure that, we have time for instruction and group work and independent work. The purple and blue books contain all the homework problems that we assign during the course. Again, it is not enough to just come to class and take notes. We got to practice on our own. Cannot emphasize that enough. As part of your enrollment, you will get access to our proprietary full-length digital tests. These tests do simulate closely the real exam experience, incorporating DOE-aligned tools, tests, technology. The test takers can choose, to complete the test using the standard time or with extended time. We also have a few things that the DOE doesn't provide. For example, the DOE does not save your scores. So when you take a DOE test and you exit, it goes away forever. Goodbye. There's no score report. So there are some things that we've added to facilitate studies and make sure that everyone is able to get those questions answered. Here, I know I've been speaking a lot about digital tests and platform. Just want to showcase what some of those features look like. So here we are able to see that we have a time multiplier here. And, if we were to change it, it would, be dynamically timed. So you can see here on this little GIF that we can change our time. And then here we can see that students will be able to highlight text just like on the real test. So this is an important strategy for certain things like, if the question is asking you for the value of 2x and you give the value of x, that's not good. You've done all the work and not answered the question. If you're annotating as you read, which you should be doing, this is an important tool to have and practice with. We do also emphasize elimination. So you can see our platform can be resized. There's an elimination tool here that will let you cross out the thing that you know to be 100% wrong, right? So that's really important for multiple choice, checkboxes, that sort of thing, right? We do have, like I said, checkboxes. So here you'll be able to select more than one correct answer. This is one of the types of TEIs that we have. So this is just a departure from the traditional multiple choice and grid end question. Of course, we've also got the drag and drops, sorting, as we call it. So, different qualities, traits, that sort of thing. That's a new TEI. We've also got drop downs. I don't know how these are really different from fill in the blanks, but Pearson's going to Pearson, I guess. So, this is sort of what they've come up with. So this is very similar to what the kids will see on the DOE test. And then of course we've got like the traditional student produced responses, the fill in the blanks. We've got to like do a bunch of math. Notice this is very different on a computer than on a piece of paper where you can like, use the equation that's been already printed. You have to now write things out yourself. So a little bit of practice going to be necessary here for most kids. So I know we offer, again, a number of different formats for our program. So I do want to just make sure that, you are familiar with what those are. So our most popular options are private programs. That just means they're hosted exclusively at our offices or online via Zoom. They are hosted in a mix of in-person and online options. So we've got in-person class with online tests, online, in-person. So what you do will just affect your experience. The class sizes are going to be pretty small in all of our private options, like an 8-to-1, student-teacher ratio. We do have a location in Tribeca, in City Hall. and in Midtown East by Bloomingdale's. We also run programming in a few other locations as well. We do have, again, the option for how you take your test. So again, all the tests, no matter what it says here, all the tests will be digital. This just refers to how it is proctored. Okay. We do partner with some schools and parent associations to bring SHSAT enrichment to affiliated schools. These programs do include discounted tuition, but you'll notice that the programs are a little larger in size. And there are some restrictions. For example, there are fewer makeup options with a partnership. There are more makeup options with a private program. One of our partnerships, for example, is at the École, which is a great private school near Gramercy. So super central, very convenient for people, usually fills up first. That program, has a larger class size, don't have as many makeup options, but it does have a significant discount with it. We historically, bring our program to some schools. You should ask your parent association or your admin if you want to see the program come to your school. We will need to get things sorted out by October 10, which is in just a few weeks, because the program does start November 12th. If none of this works for your schedule for whatever reason, the whole program is available self-paced on demand. Based on class recordings. So that would be an asynchronous option. I do only recommend that for, the very highly motivated and very organized students. Again, if you're not sure which option works best for your family, reach out, send us an email, give us a ring, and we will get back to you just as soon as we can. All right. So next year, we are also all going to be thinking about whether or not, which public schools work for us, but some of us might also be thinking about independent schools. So let's talk a little bit about that as well. Very popular, especially with changes made by the DOE, or for families looking for more intimate classroom settings. I like to think of these as sort of like parochial or non-parochial, parochial schools would be like, Xavier, that kind of thing. Non-parochial might be like Horseman, Trinity, Dalton, that sort of thing, right? So all of these schools require a test. None of them take the SHSAT, so, that's fun. And the main thing I want to talk about tonight is the ISEE, because it's the easier of the two tests, and it will be acceptable at a lot of your day schools here in New York City. So with that, here's a little slide on what the ISEE is. It's the Independent School Entrance Exam. It's administered by a company called the ERB. It's just one part of your private school application. So it's a little bit, it's a little bit hard to tell why you got in or why you didn't get into a private school, just like it is, when we are going to apply to college. The schools are going to be looking for well-rounded applicants, right? So we're going to need a test score, but we're also going to need to submit our transcript, get teacher recommendations, participate in interviews, write an essay or two or three. So, the test is going to be a component of your application. Still very good to put your best foot forward on the test, especially if it's a very selective school. So if you're thinking about, sort of top, private schools in the city, then I would make sure that, we connect about the IC. There are different levels to the IC, lower, middle, upper. 8th graders applying to high school will take the upper level test. That test is also given to students applying to grade 10, 11, and 12, which means you're going to see questions that are harder than you are used to seeing. You will see things that are above grade level that are not on the SHSAT. So just how to deal with that will vary from student to student. Some students can handle, those kinds of more advanced questions. Some students need a strategy to deal with them if they can't. So it's just a little bit more nuanced than the SHSAT, where you just do your best, and if you don't know, you guess. So you can take the ISEE up to 3 times per year, once per testing season. SHSAT is one and done. With the IC, I would suggest that you think about doing a November and a December test. That maximizes your options. It gives you 2 tests to choose from. You can pick your best one and send that to your schools once you have your application all sorted. So it gives you maximum time to prep while giving you time to, finish testing before the holidays, and get your applications out the door. The test is either on paper or computer. If it's on the computer, you can take it in a testing center at school. You can even take it at home. They do that like scan thing. I don't know if you've read about those, but you take your laptop and you scan it around your room, make sure everything's okay. So the content is a little different from the SHSAT. A couple of areas of overlap, but more different, I think, than similar. There are some areas of overlap, but those are really more along like core, domains. For instance, there's still reading comprehension, but the SHSAT has poetry and the IC does not. The IC passages are shorter. I think one of the more unique things is that the IC has quantitative comparisons in math. That'll be under the quantitative reasoning. That's like, if you remember, like column A, column B, which one's bigger? Are they the same? Or is there not enough info to tell? So that is on, the IC. That's not really on the SHSAT. The IC has, vocab questions that are like, sentence completions, synonyms, that sort of thing. The math does go all the way up through Algebra 2 and Trig. So, that will be there. Again, how to deal with that is going to vary from student to student, but again, not something that you will see on the SHSAT. And there's an essay. So there's an essay on the IC. There's no written component on the SHSAT. That essay is used as part of your application. So it is, part of the test and part of your application, but it's something that, you might not necessarily, study for if you're taking the SHSAT. So very similar, we want to just be familiar with the test, when we're preparing the structure. Each section on the IC is individually timed. So you just have like a finite amount of time within each section, and you can't go back to previous sections. So that'll just be an important part of practice. For a test like the IC, it's important that the students work with an adult, that is knowledgeable about the content and the test. And also, think about what it is that students need. Do we need to take more tests? Do we need more practice? Do we need to hit Khan Academy for some, fundamentals, that sort of thing? If it, again, sounds like too much work, we do have an enrichment program. All this is available to view online at the tutorverse.com/ICupper26. It is a 32 class program taking you from now through the fall of next year. I will spare you, my reading of all the bullets, and just share with you that there are a lot of classes. They meet once a week. They're between 2 and 2.5 hours long. There are a lot of practice tests. It's all structured out for you already. So if you are thinking about like, hey, I need to do this, then this is a great option for you. Classes are going to be on weekdays. Practice tests will be on weekends. And like our SHSAT program, we will have in-person classes as well as online classes and an on-demand option. I did also forget to mention that everyone is able to view recordings from our class. So yeah, just wanted to make mention of that as well. Here's an example of the material that you'll see here that you'll receive as part of the program. Just note the first semester is actually going to be part of our SHSAT program because it is going to be a program that will allow students to focus not on any one particular test. All right, so every year, and I know I'm running out of time. It's been an hour already. Thank you for staying with me. Every year, especially, now that we know it's so important to cast a wide net, we do work with families applying to both schools, public and private. How do you prepare for both exams? It's a lot of work. We do suggest that you enroll in a single class and supplement with one-on-one tutoring. That way you're not going over the same thing that overlaps both tests. It's just a little bit more effective and a little bit more efficient. You can do one-on-one tutoring for both exams, but doing 2 classes is pretty tough. It's a lot of time. It's like 5 hours a week. Historically, we've only had like 1 or 2 students do that a year. And those students are like, love to study, they love the work. So if that's your student, then, that's great. We can sign up for 2 classes, but if not, then I'd suggest a little bit more, emphasis on time management and efficiency. At the end of the day, though, everyone does need to decide which test is the priority. So like if you got your top choice for a specialized high school and a private school, like which one would you accept? Like if you got into Stuyvesant and you got into Horace Mann, which one would you accept? That should sort of tell you, how you should prioritize your test and your studies. So if you're seriously considering, private school program, talk to us. If you're thinking about, applying, we can start putting a plan together and figuring things out for you and your family. Just, a little brag sheet, I guess. I guess I won't bore you with all the details, but we are a local company. We've been doing this for quite some time. Our, founder grew up here, did all the tests, went to Bronx Science, went to lab, then Bronx Science. We will keep you informed. We'll send you emails. We'll even text you sometimes if we don't see your student in class. I think all of our communications are, important. We don't send around stuff that we don't think you need to know. You will have all the information at your fingertips. So if your student is following instructions, all of their homework will be in their class portal and you will be able to see it. All of their practice tests will be in there and you will be able to see it. All the score reports. So we also know that, teachers make a huge difference. We're very selective about it. We do limit the number of classes that we run each day, each year, because of talent. So it's very important to us that we find the right people to teach our classes. It's a long program. We're going to be communicating with each other a lot. Email is the way we do that. We are very committed to service, but again, keep an eye on that email because that's how we're going to be chatting with you over the next year. Technology, we use it in our homework, we're using it on our tests, we're using it to enhance and tailor instruction. But you'll notice that in our classroom, we're not going to be like all staring at a computer, like, typing things out. It's a great way to quantify and share info, but we're not like replacing instruction with AI or whatever, some of the AI stuff is crazy. I can't believe that between the last time I did this and this time, it's like so different. But anyway, I digress. The test is digital, obviously. So our platform is meant to help with that. Students get ready for the digital test. We are, investing continuously into it. I, personally meet with our developers 3 days a week about this. So it is something that we spend a lot of time and energy on. We do know that success has a lot to do with, quality of practice. So, do check out what other options are out there, but just make sure that they're all aligned with, the test and what you need. I'm just going to give you a quick overview of what our course book looks like so you know what the students might expect to see. There's a space for notes, little group activities, a little bit of independent activities. So this is sort of what you might expect to see in each class. At the risk of running even longer, I will just quickly show you what some of our digital content looks like. So here at the tutorverse.com/digital, we've got our digital question sets. We've got our digital tests. We've got, SAT stuff, but also upper IC stuff. So it's all here on our platform. Once you are enrolled, you'll be able to log in and view access to those things. So yeah, that is where you'll find our digital content. And so, what now? I'm finally, done talking at you. What should you do? Well, first, continue learning about the process. So reach out to other parents, students, thousands have done this before. Talk to reputable agencies for recommendations. Check out our competition, like why not? It is time to prepare, though. Do stick to a plan, once you create it. Do be, disciplined about it, build a routine. Preparation, should include work with someone who has worked with the test and has access to the latest, you do only get one shot at this, I do work with some families who are, going for attempt number 2 in 9th grade, but they would tell you that there are not many resources available for that. So practicing and getting ready for that is pretty difficult. Finally, do set aside time to participate in open houses, high school fairs, virtually or, in person. It's best to start doing this as soon as possible. It is also a powerful motivator for students to go to a space, see the planetarium at, Bronx Science, see the huge pool at, Stuyvesant, whatever, right? All right, so a lot of details here, as well as our special little code. Thank you for staying with me longer than an hour. I do appreciate it. I know it's 7 o'clock. Please do visit our website at the links shown to view dates, locations, times, that sort of thing. That is where you would also enroll. The 4-semester program begins November, so we do offer early bird tuition only through next week, September 25. Late fees will start applying on October 25. So early bird ends next week. Late fees start October 25. So a special thank you for joining us tonight for our live broadcast. The first 40 families to use code FIRST40 on enrollment will receive $200 off of their enrollment, as well as a credit to use depending on which program you opt for. So the SHSAT families will get summer add-on credit, and the IC families will have a supplemental digital credit. If you want us to be in your school for SHSAT enrichment, please connect us with your PA or your school admin. In order to start in November, details need to be confirmed by October 10. If you sign up for a private program and later transfer into a school-based program, we will honor that for you and provide you with a credit or a refund. Credit is usually a little tastier. There's a little bit of a bonus if you take the credit option. Lastly, we do strongly suggest that we do a little, math pre-work. Why not? Can't hurt. The book that we link here is a third-party book. It's, I think, like $13. There are benchmarks that we share on our enrollment page. So if you're like, I don't know, is my child like a good fit for this? Take the benchmark. You've got a week before early bird ends. Take the benchmark, see how it is, check in with us, and we'll be candid with you. We are all about finding people the right fit and providing the right fit program. Our program is not right for everyone. But if you're worried about that, let us know and we'll chat with you honestly and openly about it. It doesn't serve anyone, to end up in a program that's not the right fit for them, where our expectations aren't aligned. Okay, we did it. Here's our team's contact information. Helpful links. There are so many links here. Snap a picture, take a screenshot, whatever. It's all available on our website, but it's nice that it's all here together. So here is our general SHSAT page. This is where you enroll for the class for seventh graders. An ISEE informational page, as well as the enrollment. All of our classes, all of our digital, the pre-work that I mentioned. The replay will be here for your friends or your partner or your spouse. As well, if you want to come to the Q&A, I will be running another Q&A on the 24th. Yeah, here's our contact info. Send us an email. We do try to get back to everyone within a business day. That does not change once you sign up, by the way. And phone, a little harder to reach us by phone, if I'm honest with you. But you can text us, and we will get back to you as quickly as well. All right. That was a lot. Thank you very much for sticking with me through, the whole thing. I hope that it was helpful. I do see a few Q&As here. If you want to, get on with your evening, I don't blame you. Thank you very much for coming, and I'll see you around. And I hope to hear from you. But for everyone else who's still here, I'm going to take a few questions. So Monica asks, do you recommend taking the IC on computer or paper? Great question. I think at this point, many students are used to some form of computer-based testing. So the answer, annoyingly, is going to be it depends. It depends on your student. Some students don't like the computer test. Some students love it. Whatever you pick, we suggest that you practice in that format. So, it wouldn't really make sense for you to annotate, a passage on paper and then take a digital test where you can't do that. So the format of the practice is going to matter, to this whole process. With that, I would say the IC, the ERB, the company that runs the IC, they have been moving to push digital, as many companies have, the SAT, for example. The ERB is moving towards digital. They're offering fewer and fewer paper tests, and those book up really quickly. So end of August, we send end of July, August 1, we send an email to all of our IC families being like, hey, book your tests, book your tests, book your tests. Because the in-person paper tests, they're really hard to come by. You have to go out to Mamaroneck, or you got to go to Connecticut. I know some families who have driven to Philly, flown to North Carolina, and so, I can't answer that right now. I would say it depends on the student. Both are fine. I would say that if you take it on the computer, consider going into Prometric, which is where they'll offer some of the computer tests, because your student might take it a little more seriously. It'll be in a different environment. They don't have to scan their room, with their laptop, which can be a little weird. Yeah, hope that answered your question. Where is the tuition for the program? Oh, that's a great question. They are available on our enrollment pages. So Alex, if you just visit this page, the tutorverse.com /SHSAT 26 and IC upper 26, that is where you will be able to find the tuitions. You'll see that the early bird is already applied, so there's no code needed, but you can avail yourself of the first 40 code to get a little bonus. And thank you for spending 75 minutes with me. Okay, so There are Jeff. Hello, Jeff. I've got a couple of questions from you. I still see you're here, so thank you for staying. We There was a question about updated editions, and you point out that we updated the book in February and then again in June. You, sir, are correct. We have made so many changes to the program content this year. It has been exhausting. But yes, so everyone will receive the latest edition, so long as it is material. So those two updates, the February and June updates, all we did was change the way in which students can receive free practice tests when they buy the book. So in that case, we did not make we did not print new books for the people who already had the book because there was no need. They were in our program. They already received access to that. Um, okay. Ooh, this is nice, Jeff. Thank you again. DOE is allowing eighth graders unlimited number of high schools rather than 12. I did not know that. I will have to take a look into that and take it back to my team. In my research preparing, I did not see that. But if you don't mind sending me a link, that'd be great. Otherwise, I'll look into it myself. Oh, well, there it is. Thank you very much. Very cool. Thank you, Jeff. Um, all right. And lastly, there's a question of payment plans. Yes, we do offer payment plans. If you have questions about that, we can send you the terms and everything via email. So just send us an email to hello@thetutorverse.com. Thank you for asking about that. We are not able to offer plans with like certain discounts. So just make sure that you ask about that as well. Okay, well, let's see. A couple of other questions here. How much homework is there? About an hour to 2 hours towards the beginning of the program. By the end, this time next year, you can expect about 2 to 3 hours of homework per week. So that's every unit that we complete. And I would say that students who spend time engaging with their homework, reading the answer explanations, they profit. They do profit from that time. Um, let's see. Let's see. Da, da, da. What scores do my student need? Okay, so there's like a question about what's a good score. So for the SHSAT, that is going to vary depending on what school you're applying to and every year's testing population. So there are about like 30,000 students who take the test, the SHSAT. What will happen is at the end of the testing administration, the DOE is going to rank all the students, based on highest score to lowest score, and then it's just going to go through each person from rank 1 to rank whatever 6,000 and say, hey, what school do you want to go to? And then they'll take your first choice, and if there's still room there, you'll go to that. You'll get an offer to that school. If by the time they get to you, your first choice is full, then they're going to give you your second choice. Maybe that's also full. Well, then they'll give you your third choice and your fourth choice. So the higher your rank, the more assured you can be of getting your first choice school. But of course, it varies from year to year. But generally, the more popular schools are, let's see if I can get back to that page. So many pages. The more popular schools tend to be Bronx Science, Brooklyn Tech, Stuyvesant, HSMSE, High School of Math, Science, and Engineering, Staten Island Tech, Brooklyn Latin. They tend not to get as many, applicants, I guess. So the cutoff score can be lower, if that makes sense. So Hope that answered your question. Let's see. Anything else? Let's see. Do you help students get interviews? So private school, it's a little early to talk about interview prep, but yeah, we do help families get ready for interviews, review essays, the private school application. So if you're interested in thinking more about, crafting a strong application, or even building a list, we do work with some partners who we refer families to. Our forte is the test prep. We do specialize there. So we would want to put you in touch with someone who really knows, like an ex-admissions officer, for example. So yeah, I don't see any other questions. Going once, going twice. All right, awesome. Well, that is it. Thank you so much for joining. I know we ran really long. I should probably update our Zoom, timeline just to show that I might go a little longer. But thank you very much. I really appreciate your joining. It really, means a lot to me, to the team. We hope to see you in class. Feel free to send us an email, hello@tutorverse.com if you have any questions. Have a wonderful night. Bye.